Nerd student wants to hook up with cheerleaders. The history begins with a Buffalo Joanna Secondary School graduation day. Everybody needs to show up here and present their discourse. Presently is the turn of Dennis Common. Dennis is a brilliant student. He has accomplished the title of Victorian. When he showed up on the stage, he needed to convey his discourse. His discourse was less similar to a graduation discourse, however, more like a declaration of love. Here he expressed his adoration for a delightful Beth Cooper. He said that I saw Beth interestingly. When I was in 7th grade, I became hopelessly enamored with you. Absurdly. When I used to sit behind you, I fell in your affection over and over. I was enamored all the time with you. However, never communicated my love as we weren't ever taught. Yet presently I'm not scared of anybody, not even you. So I need to say that I love you. With this, Dennis additionally admits his dietary problem. He additionally conceded that he is a moron. He shared his considerations about different guys as well, where he criticized Greg. Additionally, he likewise scrutinized Beth's boyfriend Kevin, who was in the military. He likewise mentioned his closest companion, Rich, to concede that he is gay. Rich got much humiliated to hear this thing. While he was talking, one of the instructors prevented him from proceeding. After this, his educator asked him, "Is this actually the right second to communicate his adoration?" Dennis answered, "You ought to likewise have love in your life." This set off her recollections and she began recalling the snapshots of adoration in her life. Beth came to meet Dennis. She admonished Dennis and said, "You have humiliated me." She then showed him her activities concerning how hot she was. Likewise, Rich came here. Dennis welcomed Beth to a party at his place. In the meantime, Beth's boyfriend Kevin showed up. He was irritated at Dennis and was going to beat him in this position. The educator came and stopped Kevin. Whenever Dennis and Rich were together, we realized that Dennis never got any sweetheart. While Rich was gay, Dennis was a fearful man who stringently kept the guidelines schools girls try to avoid disciplined guys. Dennis came to his home and saw his parents going out. His dad got to be familiar with the party. He said, "A child, we are both going. But if you need protection, it's in the room. You can take that." Today Dennis' dad feels like his child will break the wall of virginity. In any case, Dennis and Rich weren't certain with regard to this. Beth came here alongside her companions, Cammie and Terrace. Dennis and Rich both were apprehensive at first. Beth ridiculed them for how weakling they were. These companions then called Dennis charming. Beth inquired as to whether the party was going here. Where could the others have been over the long run? They come to realize that Beth hasn't organized any party. Beth and her companions began enjoying themselves there. Rich and Dennis brought protection. They utilized it like a balloon. First and foremost, Beth got vicious at Dennis, then left him for his charm. When she bounced on Dennis, Dennis had an erection. Beth acknowledged it and enlightened her companions to ridicule him. Then Kevin showed up alongside his friends. Kevin and his friends came to beat Dennis. Dennis locked every one of the entrance of his home. He attempted to put things wherever by seats and couches. However, he neglected to close one of the entryways. Kevin and his buddies entered by means of the entryway. Beth requested that he leave from that point. Yet Kevin clashed. Kevin's buddies began crushing things in the kitchen. They additionally began beating Dennis. Beth and her companions came to save Dennis and Rich. Every one of the 5 sat in Beth's vehicle to get away. Then they arrived at a service station where they went to purchase a beer. The assistant there didn't acknowledge Beth's driving permit for beer. On this driving permit it was composed that Beth is 37 years of age and nobody can trust this reality. Beth attempted to take the assistant in her impact. The assistant said that he was unable to lose his employment. A while later, Beth kissed the assistant, whereupon he gave the beer to her. Dennis understood that Beth disliked what he imagined in his fantasies. Then they went to the isolated spot where they did a bonfire. Dennis exhorted Beth that she shouldn't utilize her like this. She kissed an outsider only for a beer. He said that he regarded Beth a lot. Beth understood this. In the meantime, Rich and Beth's companions arrived at the cattle house where Rich unintentionally ventured into the cows. Dumb, one of the cows began pursuing them and made them flee. Here, Beth informed Dennis regarding a Kiss tune on which her name is based. Beth presently acknowledged the amount Dennis cherished her. She acknowledged his adoration. As of now, a cow began pursuing them and made them flee from that spot. They all sit in Beth's vehicle to get away. Here we get to be familiar with Beth's careless driving. She was driving angrily. They saw a vehicle in the manor. In this vehicle there was nobody. However, the guardians of Dennis who were intimating Beth's vehicle was going to crash with them. However, Beth halted it toward the end. Second, they all would have rather not see Dennis' dad without pant. Beth drove the vehicle and carried every one of them to Valley's house. Here a private party was continuing. Greg got Dennis and carried him to a different spot. It appears as though he is going to beat Dennis, yet he puts his head over Dennis' shoulder and cries. He said, "You genuinely get me. From today onwards, you are my closest companion." Dennis additionally tapped his back and helped. In the meantime, Kevin showed up alongside his sidekicks. He began beating Dennis. Greg came to save Dennis. He beat Kevin and his associates severely. During this, Beth crashed the window and took every last bit of her companions. Beth carried every one of them to her school. She has the keys to her school as a team promoter. She got the keys. Beth, alongside her companions, showed Dennis her cheerleading dance. Dennis watched this definitely. Then they all went together for a shower. Dennis got anxious to see Beth in the towel. Then Beth, with her companions, went to scrub down. Here, Kevin assaulted Dennis. Rich attempted to battle with them. His most noteworthy protection was his towel. Here towel battle was happening in this battle. Rich won the battle and a towel helped him in this. Kevin couldn't battle his towel assaults. In the interim, Beth again accompanied her vehicle. They each of the 5 again gotten away. Till now, Dennis got such countless wounds his nose began dying. Beth requested that Dennis take off his shirt. Whenever he took off his shirt, she began penetrating it for the sake of entertainment and tossed it out. Beth and Dennis left the vehicle to track down the shirt. However, at that point, a wild feeling showed up there who pushed ahead to assault them. The 2 of them got away from that point. Then at that point they arrived at the family lodge of Tress. Beth and Dennis sat close to the lake and were looking for the dawn. Then again, Tress and Cammy were with Rich. They inquired as to whether he is gay and genuine. Rich answered that he genuinely doesn't be aware of this. He isn't certain with regards to it yet. Then they became physical with one another. After this, Rich is certain that he is gay. However, Trace doesn't feel like this. Here Beth and Dennis played out their first kiss. Beth said that she has committed an immense error by picking a person like Kevin. She said further that Kevin is a failure. He doesn't merit any young lady. From that point forward, Beth and Dennis intimating. Then at that point, they generally arrived at Dennis' house. Here, Dennis' dad sorted out that his child had broken the massive virginity. He was glad for him. However, he was likewise furious that his whole house was perplexed because of Dennis and Kevin's battle. He said that Dennis would get an extraordinary discipline for this. Beth, while leaving, kissed Dennis. She has an adoration for Dennis. In her eyes. She said, "Thank you for adoring me this much." Dennis answered, "What can oppose anybody going attraction for you?" They go out to meet each other at a secondary school get together and the 2 of them concluded that assuming they stayed single till that time they would marry each other. Along these lines. This party finished, Beth went with her friends. Rich conceded before Dennis that he is gay. However, he additionally has interest in young ladies. It implies that he enjoyed the both genders. Dennis let Rich know that he was unable to trust that a gathering will meet Beth. Rich likewise conceded, encouraged him to propose to Beth. The 2 of them examined with one another. That how might Dennis propose to Beth? Subscribe for more videos like this.